Hello, I'm so glad y'all are back. So we are talking about the different types of plate boundaries. And the ones we're going to talk about today are the convergent boundaries, divergent boundaries, and transform boundaries. Now, I'm going to show you my toys, and if you have some, I want you to go ahead and get them too. So you're going to be able to see my face for this, but that's okay. You'll see my hands and my toys, and this is going to be a really cool representation. Hopefully it'll help you remember the difference between those three types of boundaries. So let's check it out. So here I've got a couple toy cars, okay? So I've got, I don't know, it's a yellow one and a silver one. I don't really know what they are, but you get the idea. So if you have toy cars, go ahead and pause. You guys can go through all this fun stuff with me, okay? The first type of plate boundary we're going to model with our cars is a convergent plate boundary. And what happens at a convergent boundary is the cars are going to move towards each other, okay? So they move towards each other, and if these were real cars, you imagine that that'd be a real a bad deal, you know, like, I mean, it'd be a really nasty car crash. We'd have a head-on collision right there, okay? If we were going to draw arrows to their movement for a convergent boundary, you can imagine that the arrows would be pointing towards each other because that is the direction of movement for a convergent boundary, okay? I should have some arrows here so I can hold them up and show you. That's okay. If we were going to define convergent, what could we say? I mean, like the easiest definition you could imagine. I would say move towards each other because that's what they're doing, okay? They're moving towards each other. That's convergent boundaries, okay? The next type of boundary we're going to talk about is a divergent boundary. And for this one, I'm going to turn our cars around, and they're going to start with their little tail feathers together, okay? And divergent, they're going to move away from each other, okay? So at a plate boundary, it's the same thing. If we're talking about a divergent plate boundary, the plates are moving away from each other. So that's what happening. That is what is happening here too. The cars are moving away from each other. So what happens when two cars move away or diverge? They're just pulling away from each other. That's it. No harm done, right? If we were going to define diverge or divergent, what would we say? Either moving towards each other, moving away from each other, or sliding past each other. And these are moving away from each other, okay? So the next type of plate boundary that we could talk about is the transform boundary. And for this one, we're going to go towards each other again, but we're going to go towards each other next to each other like this, not head on. We're going to slide past each other. So a transform boundary, they're sliding past each other. If you look at the pictures below, there's one that shows you an actual car that got in a car accident, and they didn't head-on collide. They just slid past each other. Doesn't look like quite so much damage as like a head-on collision, right? But it still kind of messed their car up a little bit. So a transform boundary, cars are sliding past each other. If we were going to draw arrows for a transform boundary, I'd probably stack my arrows up just like my cars are and say that they're going like this right here, okay? I hope this quick little activity helps you understand the difference between a convergent plate boundary, a divergent boundary, and then the transform boundary where they're sliding past each other. Y'all are amazing. Keep going for some more awesome plate tectonics information.